Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Town of Dewey Beach monthly town council meeting and public hearing. It's being held at the Dewey Beach Life Saving Station as well as via Zoom. Today is July 18th, 2025, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. With that, I'd like to convene the town commissioner meeting. We'll start first with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and remove your hats. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Next item is for roll call. Commissioner Bauer.
Present.
Commissioner Persinger.
Here.
Commissioner Gibbings.
Here.
Commissioner Jazinski.
Here.
And Mayor Bill Stevens here, so we have a quorum, all five present. Next item, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
No conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item F is for public comments. So this is for any non-agenda items. If anyone here or online who would have any public comment for a non-agenda item, please come forth. Not seeing any, we'll move on. Committee reports. Commissioner Jazinski.
The big news on the infrastructure committee, I'll have Mr. Zolber go over that. We need to-
Okay. Commissioner Gibbings.
The Finance Committee wants to restate their request for a revenue workshop before the budget process starts, so they're more up to speed and can be more helpful. So that would probably be September after the audit is completed. But I thought I'd
That's
put it
right.
on now for,
Okay. All right, work with Kate on getting that scheduled for him in unison. Commissioner Persinger.
The Climate Change Committee is scheduled to meet on July 31st. The agenda is already published for that meeting. The subcommittee has spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into developing this project for a resiliency plan. And that's primarily what they're going to talk about on the 31st, although there are a number of other agenda items there. That's the first one on the agenda. The plan is then to bring that report to the town council in August. So that's why they've scheduled their meeting for July 31st. That'll give us time to do that. And the only other thing, they are talking about possibly changing their name from Climate Change Committee. Every time I say I'm involved with the Climate Change Committee, people ask me, what are you going to change? And we really aren't going to change anything, but there may be the word
Climate
resilience in there somewhere. Well, resilience may be in there somewhere. That makes a bit more sense, but they haven't come up with a specific set of options yet. But that is something they're talking about.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, I forgot to say that the Audit Committee is scheduled to meet August 7th at 6 p.m.
Okay, Commissioner Bauer.
Nothing for marketing at this point. We're still looking for a chair for that committee, so if anybody knows anybody, we'll be happy to get that committee back rolling again, but we need a chair first. And I do have an announcement. The Coastal Delaware Running Festival send-off is scheduled for 2026, and we're going to do it on McKinley Street.
Okay, that's great. All right. Town manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon, everybody. I'd first like to start off saying 4th of July went really well this year. Great job by the police, EMS, DelDOT, our maintenance folks, our parking ambassadors. Just a great job across the board by everybody. I'd like to thank Alex Pirates and Highway 1 for their funding the fireworks. It went off without a hitch. And again, the chief can discuss a little bit more about that. But here are some of the activities that were happening on the 4th of July. It's very unique for here in Dewey Beach compared to some of the other towns. Down on West Street, they decorated nicely down there with American flags going over the dune. And at the end of their street, they had a nice area done down there. I would encourage other streets to do that. Yeah. Also down at Bellevue Street, you can see they put some effort down there with some flowers and some other items. And they also have a dog box down there. So if you go down, you can pick a ball up, go down and throw it with the dog. You come back, you put the ball back in there. So great job by Bellevue Street and West Street. Running of the Bull for the kids went off without a hitch. We want to thank the Dewey Beach Partnership for that. You had all different mascots down there. We probably had about 250 kids running down there. There it is right there. It was really a nice activity for the kids. Thank you to Dewey Beach Partnership for that. Then we've just put these stencils out to try to keep people from jaywalking. These are at every corner in town. And yeah, they're big and they're kind of obnoxious, but it's to get people's attention because I can tell you the chief's been doing her job with writing people citations for jaywalking. So we're really trying to inform the people without having to get a citation. But if they still walk and they walk over something that says no jaywalking, I mean, you can't fix some folks.
Okay.
And then we redid some of the look twice before crossing both lanes. And then we've got the town hall. The town hall's moving right along. They're doing the foundation. Today they're pouring more cement. So hopefully they'll be done the foundation sometime next week and they can start looking at laying the first level down. So it's moving right along very nicely. Want to report, I hope most of the commissioners looked at the video that I sent out about the beach replenishment. Tony Pratt did an excellent job. The city of Rehoboth, I think, funded him to come speak about beach replenishment. On the very informative. On the flip side, though, the Army Corps said we will not be getting beach replenishment this winter, but it should be scheduled for the following winter. Want to thank the Secretary of Transportation, Shante Hastings, for the great job for the ADA project down here on the sidewalks and the posts and ropes. That was an expensive project that they did for us, and ADEL did a nice job for DelDOT on it, but I'd like to thank them for that. Tents and canopies on the beach. I've had a couple complaints, maybe 6 that have come to me since then, and I have done like going over the dunes, checking, and like this morning I walked from basically Collins Street up to Dickinson Street. There was one family that had a tent. It looked like it was 36 on the sides, but it might have been a little wider in the front. And I told him, I said, hey, look, you're only allowed 36 by 36. You can't bring this tent back tomorrow, right? So really haven't had that many the complaints. Like I said, I've gotten about 6. Did receive a letter from the Alcohol Commission Board here in Delaware about the Blue Water Marina wanting to do consumption of alcohol inside their building, and that is on Rodney Street. That letter went out to folks within a mile of that. I've got a copy of the letter here if anybody would like to see it. And after further discussion with the mayor, we did have the town attorney send them a response to what we saw in the letter. The Army Corps North American Division has gone ahead and signed off on our Reed Street $1 million project. What that means is the money was set aside for it, but the Army Corps actually had to review it and approve it. So it's been reviewed, it's been approved, so it's going to be a process over the next 2 years as that project gets moving there on Reed Street. Employee picnic is coming up on the 23rd here at the lifeguard station, put on by the Dewey Beach Business Partnership. Like to thank Cindy Sousa for the gift card she provided to our parking people over the 4th of July. So when they were out and about, they could stop off at some of the businesses and purchase food and some and water. November 1st at 4 p.m., we have the History of Dewey Beach, Part 2. The Civic League's putting that on. That'll be from 1962 up to current day, today. And if you don't have any questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to Jim. Jim's got some good news.
I have one quick question. Is the letter you sent to the alcohol board, is that not a public document?
That letter wasn't sent to the board, it was sent to the applicant's council. And it's a public document, but I mean, it was just advising the applicant that part of the process, as they probably know, is that they've got to demonstrate that they have proper zoning in order to operate a bar, and that the Alcohol Control Commission is going to require that of them, and we've not been requested to issue one.
Okay.
So I suppose if they go forward, I'm anticipating that request and preparing for how we would respond to it.
Mr. Dedes.
Yes, if you all recall, back in February 21, 25, the commissioners passed an ordinance to increase the freeboard from freeboard of 1 to 2, plus with an option of 3. It was to go into effect in April. However, we never got the final approval from DENREC and the FEMA management specialist. As it turns out today, we just got a notification from Jamie Carpenter, who is the floodplain management specialist for FEMA in Region 3, saying that they did approve our ordinance. So we are able now to at least start a timetable for beginning the freeboard from 2 with the option of 3. So according to my calculations, we gave 6 months from the last time. So assuming this would be the starting time, and the commissioners wanted me to, and town manager to proceed, it would be go into effect January 18th from today. So that's where we are. We're finally okay to move on. And so by January, if we approve 6 months, which I think that's not a problem for us, we should be able to implement our town ordinance.
Great. Any questions from Mr. Dede? Okay, thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Bill?
No, sir.
Chief?
Hello, everyone. So I'll start off with our stats for the month of June. So in the month of June, we had 1,025 calls for service. We had 29 criminal arrests. We had 537 traffic citations, to include warnings. We had 489 hours of traffic enforcement hours. We had 10 accidents. We had 135 parking citations, 82 civil citations, and 4 DUI arrests. In the year 2024, for the month of June, we had a total number of 955 calls for service. And this year we had 1,025. So it's continuing to go up. Also for the month of June, we had 34 urinating in public citations written.
How many?
34.
Over the entire course of the month.
For June, that's for the month of June. We had 6 juvenile arrests and we had 38 jaywalking citations written. And specifically for 4th of July weekend, we had 6 UIPs, which is the urinating in public. We had 2 juvenile arrests. We had 1 jaywalking citation. We had 4 crosswalk violations. We had 20 alcohol arrests, 12 adult arrests, with a total number of calls for 261 calls for service just for the 4th of July weekend. So we were extremely busy 4th of July weekend, as we are every year. I think it was, we had a very good plan set up as far as on the fireworks day. We had officers assigned and seasonals for every crosswalk all the way downtown with Del Doc trucks and everything blocked off. We were able to get people out of town and across the crosswalks, across the streets very efficiently this year. So I thought that went really smoothly because everything was backed up, but it went very well to get people in and out of town. So I was very pleased with that. Obviously, we had lots of arrests. We had a lot of juveniles arrested and, a lot of time spent at the Wings to Go parking lot and things like that. But overall, it went very well. In addition, I'd like to add that our court liaison, Donald Robinson, has been working very hard this summer to offer community service for various violations. And so far, he's had 14 defendants that have had to do 20 hours of community service each, totaling 280 hours this summer so far. Basically, those are the kids you see out on Saturdays and Sundays picking up trash all over town. This last weekend, I think he had 7 of them out there.
Yeah.
So when he does it, they do 5-hour increments and they have to do 2 weekends in a row. So they do a 5-hour Saturday, a 5-hour Sunday, and then the next weekend. And it's been a very effective program. And this is the most we've had since I've been here. So this is a very good program. A lot of these cases are given to, a lot of them are younger people and they make mistakes. It could be as simple as a urinating call, a disorderly call, an open alcohol citation. So instead of that staying on their record, they're able to come and do community service. So especially with the juveniles and stuff, it's a very good program. He's doing a great job of that, so I'm very pleased with that. And we were able to purchase that car that you approved last time. That's the one I'm driving right now. It has no equipment in it. I gave my police car to Adam Err, the one that needed a car, since it's patrol ready, so he can do his job. So hopefully the equipment will come in for this other car in about 6 to 8 weeks and it'll be up and running, and then I'll give him his car back and I'll take my car back. So other than that,
Very nice of
everything's going very well. We still have 13 seasonals working. We're already starting to get their dates. Some of them are starting to leave middle of August because they're going back to college. We've had 3 of them that have been offered positions. Those were our 3 returners. They're all been offered position with Newcastle County Police. And then we have a bunch of our other seasonals that are in the process with other agencies because they're already 21 and they've already finished college. So the program's been very effective and we're moving a lot of people into law enforcement careers. So I'm very pleased with that as well. And hopefully we'll get some good returners for next year. for our program. And that's all I have.
Great news, Chief. Any questions
Job,
for
Chief.
for the chief?
Chief, the parking lot on Coastal, Wings to Go lot, is that where juveniles are gathering again, or is it a mixture across time?
It's a mixture.
Okay,
We have a lot of people there.
okay, because I know we have the signs up,
We do.
and
It's a lot of people in general. I think we'll be addressing that later on. I'm
We will.
gonna be giving you drone footage and stuff of exactly what we're dealing with after at 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning, and we'll discuss that later.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Busy.
Next, Chamber of Commerce.
Carol Everhart, Rehoboth Beach, Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce, or Dewey Beach, Rehoboth Beach Chamber of Commerce.
We think today it's Dewey Beach, Chamber.
Okay, you can wear more than one hat, you know?
No, we can't.
Let me give you a quick update. I'm going to give you an update on movies and bonfires and the attendance, the legislative, and what the chamber's been doing over the last 30 days. First, we're preparing for all the fall events. We have to work a year ahead. We don't work a year ahead. Right now, they're selling the visitor guide for next year. We got to know what we're doing, when we're going to do it. I did want to mention that we were able to present checks provided through the sponsorships of our restaurants through Restaurant Week. For the Home of the Brave, the Rehoboth Beach Police Department, the Dewey Beach Police Department, and the Rehoboth Beach Volunteer Fire Department, and Tunelston Towers. So that's always a very nice thing to be able to do. Movies and bonfires. Okay, as far as the movies go, I'm going to give you the dates in June and then the attendance. So June 16, we had rain. The 23rd, we had 230 attendees. June 30th, 285 attendees. July 7th, rain out. June 18, bonfires. Oh, excuse me, let me continue with the movies. Nope, oh, wait, I was finished June. Dewey Beach bonfires, 18th was canceled due to rain. We had 175 on June 25th, 225 on July 9th, and we had another weather cancellation on July 9th.
We've had some bad weather.
Yeah, bad weather, bad weather. Dewey Beach movies in July, we have only had the one, which was 515 attendees. I can't tell you that. And we also had 400 attendees at the second one, the bonfire. So as the summer goes on, it gets better, but the movies are always more attended than the bonfires. I'm going to jump into some legislative. I was at the Association of Chambers meeting last week, July 9th, and this is just a quick update on some of the bills that I think you might be interested in. SB 21, which is that corporate law. If you don't incorporate in Delaware, you go someplace else, the state loses money. It's a high percentage of the state's budget. That the governor signed, but I am advised that some corporations are still choosing to leave. HB 210, that was imposed fines on large polluters, that passed. It was signed by the governor, and it goes in effect in 30 days. So you're large polluters, okay. SB 181, paid family leave, delayed for 18 months. HB 13, personal income tax increase. It did not get out of the House, and it did not go through yet. HB 88, this was the ADA parking. It's a requirement of square footage, van accessibility, all those types of things. It did not get out of committee yet, okay? HB, I'm sorry. It passed. That one passed. So if you're ADA parking, there's a lot of requirements on that now. EV mandate never got out of committee. HB 115, single-use plastic use. So when restaurants are doing takeout, unless you ask for the plastic, they're not to put it in. It passed. HB 135, homeless bill, no hearing assigned, it's still alive. And the credit card, which was the issue of I'm the business and you use your credit card, and I can charge so much above that. They wanted to alter that. It's not been heard yet in final, okay? And then the only other thing I have, unless you have questions, is in here. Here's your accommodations. And I think one of the things you're going to notice is a decrease in overnight stays, not in the 19971 zip code, but in the individual towns. My guess is that's short-term rentals. That's my guess. If you're looking at the whole zip code, 19971, last year on Wednesday nights, 46,949. This year, 49,450, pretty even. Saturdays, last year, 61,053. This year, 68, so it's up. But that's the whole zip code. The towns are seeing something different. Here's your Wednesday nights in Dewey in June. Week 1, last year, I'll give you last year first and then this year. Last year 36, this year 34. Last year 54, this year 54. Last year 61, this year 65. Last year 74, this year 50. And last year 67 on week 5, this year 61. Saturdays, I found this interesting. Last year on Saturday, week 1, you had 71% full. This year, 50. Last year, 81%. This year, 69. Last year, 72. This year, 64. Last year, 86. This year, 77. And last year, 85. This year, 74. So every Saturday in the hotel rooms in Dewey, and I saw the same thing in other specific areas, not in the whole zip code, but in specific areas, it was just slightly down. Okay, I don't know if that helps or hurts. Okay, any questions?
Any questions, Carol?
The ADA, expansion of ADA parking did pass?
It did, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. Yes, it did. So you have to do that.
Before we move on to the agenda items, we'll discuss, we have several things. The town of Dewey Beach likes to be first at things, and we wanted to be the first to also thank you for all your years of service. And for, even though we've requested it to be the Dewey Beach Rehoboth Chamber of Commerce, we don't see that on the sign anymore, but we have something special for you.
Oh, nice. We're gonna be here for a while.
I know, but we'd like to be first.
Oh, thank you.
Carol, thank you for having me. There's a little plaque for you.
Does it say Dewey Beach?
It's in Dewey Beach right there.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You want another plan?
Of course. Here, I'll put this over here. so you
Tell
don't-
us the plan.
So they're doing it the right way, okay? I gave them a lot of notice and said I would stay until they found the right person, okay? They put it on Indeed. You're also going to see it locally advertised, the position. And while that is going on, they're going to first, they formed a group, a succession group off of the board. They are going in and Zooming the top candidates, going through it, Zooming the top candidates. Once they get a final list by fall, they'll take that list to the board. They'll discuss it. Then they're going to bring the top candidates in to meet the board. So it's going to take, it'll take us until the end of the year to actually put someone in place, but I think they're doing it the right way. Yeah, so thank you for this.
You're welcome.
So we have,
Thank you for everything.
Yeah,
we have
thank
one
you.
more Sea-Witch with you, is that correct?
Oh, I definitely have another secret.
Okay, just making sure.
That's the other thing that they've
Maybe
said,
two.
will you hang around it if we need you? And I'm, of course, yeah, of course, no problem.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
All right.
Respect that.
The first item on the agenda is to review the June financial reports. The financial reports are available on the website. Ms. Hall, do you have anything you want to say?
Yes, sir. Afternoon, Commissioners. As you can see from the financials, we've been very fortunate so far this year in our revenue streams. They're all either right on schedule or a little ahead. Fact is, with the money that we got for the June transfers, we are at 50% of our transfer tax budget. Very fortunate. The question was asked by Commissioner Persinger last month, why the salaries are above budget. I didn't explain it quite clear enough because on the fly, I don't always do that well. Here's very simple. Each employee earns 12 hours of vacation and 12 hours of sick time each month. We have to account for that, so in case someone leaves, we've already got the money there. During the summer, very few people take time off. So right now, we're all accruing. Now, I personally take off a couple weeks in December. So I'm gonna accrue 12 hours and use 80. So it all evens out over the course of the year. It just looks a little wonky right now. But we have to account in case somebody leaves. I hope that answers your all's questions.
Do you have a question?
That was a fly crawling up the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate that. It's very clear.
See what it-
I had one question about the fund balances and the unassigned balance.
Yes, sir.
I know that it fluctuates from year to year, not year to year, but from month to month. But what's the big hit, what's the big subtraction attributable to on the unassigned fund for this past month?
Items that were purchased with grant and waiting for grant reimbursement. So we've had to lay out the money. I know today we got CTF funds in that were reimbursed for some streets and infrastructure purchases. We've also got DEMA funds in that we've laid out for purchases.
And then that goes back to the unassigned fund once you
Yes,
collected
sir.
those funds. Okay. That's all I had.
The one thing I did want to make a comment on, Mr. Zolper had given us an update from the Reed Street pumping station. The Army Corps of Engineers came back and said that the total project, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, was approximately 1.2 million.
That's what they're estimating.
They're estimating?
Yeah.
And Dewey Beach is responsible for 25% of that, so approximately $300,000. So as we look at, in terms of the fund balances, to make sure that we have that through 26 and 27, which I believe it's 26 is when they're going to begin the project
Right.
potentially,
Yes.
and complete it in 28.
And Ms. Hall, how much do we have approximately right now in the infrastructure fund?
Roughly $900,000.
Okay. Let's just make sure that we have enough in there to cover all the projects that we need.
We are gonna have to schedule a meeting too.
Right.
Any other questions of council, Ms. Hall?
No.
Ms. Down.
Thank you, Sheena.
Let's go on to item B, discuss possible vote to appoint Glenn Rainier to the Infrastructure Committee. Mr. Jazinski.
Yeah, so Glenn is offering to help out with infrastructure. We always need good volunteers. Drew Martin is fully supports him. He's an ex-airline pilot, has some construction experience. Seems like a good motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, motion passes unanimously. C, discuss a possible vote on an ordinance to amend Chapter 138 of the municipal code regarding the maintenance of sidewalks. Mr. Zolper.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has been on the agenda in May, it's been on the agenda in June, and it's on the agenda again now in July. In May, I talked about it in my newsletter under town manager's comments and laid out the different options and why we wanted to have snow removal done by the folks that actually own property along Route 1. And then in June, we put out in the newsletter a whole page on the snow removal with the different options. And we also gave us an area where you could provide your feedback. So Mayor, I would ask that we just consider and pass this, the responsibility for snow removal. If it's 6 inches or less, the snow has to be removed within 24 hours. If it's 6 inches or more, they would have 48 hours to remove the snow once it's stopped. This would be for property owners along Route 1 to clear the snow off those sidewalks.
Thank you, Mr. Zolper. Council, any questions of Mr. Zolper?
Another question by comment.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay. We have very few sidewalks in Dewey Beach. I mean, most of Dewey Beach does not have sidewalks. We spend most of our time, if we're traveling on foot, we're walking in the street. If you're walking down King Charles, you're walking along the side there which is unpaved. Arguably, there is a public benefit, public safety benefit by having the sidewalks cleared along Route 1. Especially, I think, between this Clayton and down to Van Dyke Street. That's where the main business activity takes place. And yet, this is a public safety benefit for everybody, but we're asking a very small minority of property owners to pay for that public benefit, that public safety benefit for everyone. Because it is a benefit for everyone, I believe it ought to be a much more broadly shared expense. I believe this ought to be a town expense. That's the only way to share it. Business owners who would otherwise clear their sidewalk areas anyway could certainly contribute and take care of their own property. But again, I believe this, because it's a benefit for everyone, it's a public safety benefit, I think this should be a town expense.
Anyone else?
So we've gotten a lot of public feedback on this, right? People, I think we have two kind of things going. One is the chief has laid out what I think is a very legitimate public safety issue when people are walking in the street and slushy mess, right? And you've got just a hugely busy street. I don't think we have a huge public safety issue on side streets that happen to have sidewalks because there's just not many cars there. But on Route 1, from my perspective, it's a real issue, and we really can't have the situation where people are basically feeling pushed out into the street. So from my perspective, we have to solve that one way or another. We don't have the choice to make it that people have to basically walk in the street. So that's the safety side of it. Then the constraints are budget, if the town pays for it. The town manager is going to want us to basically come up with some additional funds to pay for that. And his town staff is so lean and busy with the streets, he can't just basically reallocate them to do this. There's not really that option. He's going to have to hire a third party to do it. Some public feedback we got that I think was fair was people talking about a minimum threshold, like whether we say maybe 2 inches or something like that. Also people not being responsible if DelDOT pushes snow back onto their sidewalk. That's not really fair to that, right? You know, you
Right.
hear DelDOT
plows
it and then
up there.
says, sorry, you're getting a ticket. I mean, you can't really do that, right? From my perspective, I think a lot of people are in a position to do it, whether they're home and they can take care of it, they're a business that can take care of it, or they can just hire a third party to take care of it. There are some people who have, needs and wants not to, various reasons not to. But I think that is a smaller group of people, and I do think that from a public policy perspective, it's pretty common that this is just the way you do it. You make people responsible for it. But I also don't think we should be punitive about the whole thing. And what I'm wondering if what we can do is just put that in the code that property owners are responsible for it, and the town manager at a minimum threshold of 2 inches or whatever, the town manager can elect, if he feels it's needed, to hire somebody to do it, to clear it off if you don't meet your responsibility, and you'll be billed for your proportional cost of it. To me, it seems like it's a reasonable compromise. There's no additional fine, but hey, if you're not in a position, you're not here, and there's snow and it's causing a hazard, I want to enable the town manager to be able to hire someone to do it and to bill out the proportional cost of doing so. And I only think it's necessary on Route 1. I don't think it's necessary for the trivial amount of sidewalks we have off of Route 1.
Commissioner Bauer?
In the off-season, I could probably name 5 businesses that are open at that point. Those 5 businesses do a good job because they want people coming in. Woody's wants people to come on in and eat crab cakes all winter long, and Starboard's open, and et cetera. But there's a lot of businesses that are closed at that point. So in my mind, I'm looking at it like, there's people that aren't here that, their sidewalks are not going to get shoveled. They're not, if they're not here, they're not shoveling. The little store is a good example of it. So, we've made it this far with doing nothing, and I'm struggling with what's compelling us to do something now. And it has been a public safety issue for as long as we've had a town. So, but, we don't have a lot of traffic when there's snow either. So, I mean, it's a little bit of both, but I understand the public safety part of it. What's the expense going to be if we did it?
So they-
6,000, 10,000?
It depends how many people actually clear their sidewalks.
Yeah.
The estimates I got from one vendor was about $300 for the sidewalk. Of a portion that would be somewhere around 50 feet.
So for
So
each,
300 per 50 feet.
Yeah.
And what's the cost if the town did the
So
the
if the
job?
town does it, we're going to need to buy some equipment. And I
No,
have,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say the town, but if you got a vendor to come in and do it,
I'm sorry.
if you got someone to come in and do it, not to buy equipment.
Yeah, it would be to hire an outside. So the problem was I contacted a number of different landscaping companies to do snow removal. All of them were very excited about it until I told them it was just sidewalks. Because they want to do parking lots, they want to do driveways, and they don't want to do just sidewalks. I only had one company came back, it was $300 for about 50 feet.
I thought you had an overall estimate for the total sidewalk job. It was like $4,000, I thought, during the week, and maybe $5,000 on the weekend.
So $3,500 during the week from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's not counting any salt that they may have to put down. Though that's $50 a bag, and that's pretty expensive. After hours would be $4,900 to have it done.
Right.
I believe that we should find money in the budget to pay for this as a town expense. I mean, I get the point, it's a potentially public safety issue. There really aren't a lot of people in town at that time, but I mean, practically speaking, you don't want people walking in the street while walking along Route 1. But why should so few property owners pay for the public safety benefit for everybody?
for everybody, right?
It should, in my view, be really a shared expense. And the only way to do that practically is to have it as a town expense. And even if we had 2 snowstorms, we're talking maybe $10,000. It's not a huge amount of money.
The only thing I would bring up is that in the next 18 months or so, maybe we're going to have to renegotiate our police contract. And I can tell you with Rehoboth being in the high 70s and Lewis being in the mid 70s for their folks coming out of the academy, right now we're at 61,000 coming out of the academy. And we're going to be looking for that money from somewhere. And I just say, as we look at our budget across the board, we're really going to be looking for 10,000 here or maybe 20,000 there. I just say to you to keep that in mind as we look at budgets in the future.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Going to do all the commissioners but me. I agree with Commissioner Jazinski about the minimum, that if it only snows like maybe 1 inch, perhaps we do not need to have it cleared, it could be swept away. Public safety is absolutely imperative attention here. As somebody who is here when it does snow and having to walk out in Coastal Highway to get up and down the town, it's not safe. And it doesn't matter how many cars that come through, because just one hitting me is too many. And I do think businesses are responsible for their properties even when they're not here. So even if, for example, a hotel in town is not open, they're still responsible for maintaining the safety of their hotel during the off-season. So if there were to be a water main break or something, they'd have to take care of it. Any town that I have lived in or had involvement with, you're responsible for the sidewalk in front of your place. I don't think this is an onerous requirement to ask the businesses and property owners to take care of their bit.
Thank you, Commissioner Gibbings.
I have a suggestion.
Want to open up for public comment first?
Okay.
Okay. Anyone here from public comment? Yes, please.
State your name, where you're from.
Hi, David Thomas, 1 Reed Avenue. Good afternoon, everybody. Only 28 hours ago, I had a chance to send in a response on the poll that was on the monthly newsletter. And I don't know if you all had a chance to see that. I see a
I
nod.
don't know if I saw yours specifically, but I did see the results of the poll.
Okay, so I'll try to not repeat too much of what's in there. It comes down to the possibility that for $3,500 a year, you might be able to experiment and get through the first winter. That's because a TMG industrial 32-inch roller snow brush only costs $2,000 to own it. And then you would have $1,500 for the fuel and the operating time payroll. Each season can be different. When I was a practicing lawyer, I wrote contracts, whether it was for a set fee for the season or for each snow. Gets involved, so I'm going to skip over that. The benefit is that you have something that goes right down where the wheelchairs can go, and it cleans out so that you don't have, at the conclusion of the sidewalk, the plow ridges and the slop in the street. It goes all the way through. So it needs to be coordinated with the street deal, but you get a clean passageway that's a lot safer and a lot better. I agree with Gary's comments about shouldn't this be a wider expense, and that's because walking down here this afternoon on the east side between McKinley and Reed, there are two commercial properties. Okay, if they only paid $25 or $30 a year to get covered for the whole thing, that sounds like a pretty good deal. On the west side, there have got to be 16 different residential condominium units. So if they only paid $2 or $3, gee, you get that service for the year. So that's what I think is doable in terms of the economics and the basic concept. If all of you haven't had a chance to read it, I think that would have some utility. I'd really like to see the Dewey Beach Civic League and the Business Association have an opportunity to read and to have input here in terms of acquiring the machine for only a couple $1,000s, storing it in a place that's only a little bigger than for a lawnmower. It's got 5 forward speeds, it's a walk behind, 2 reverse speeds, and it removes the necessity for de-icing agents pretty much because it sweeps the pavement completely clean. It's also useful for sand, which is relevant to this town. You know, in terms of brushing it up, like in front of the surf club in Adams Oceanfront where I am, there is some housekeeping there that same equipment for the sand would have utility. So if the business community could pitch in, maybe help get us started, and then wouldn't it be a perfect occupation for somebody who lives here year-round who does the fire rings out on the beach during the summer or the beach service during the summer? This is an off-season wintertime activity that's in that kindred type of thing. Those are all there's overlap with what I wrote yesterday, but I think it's worth trying to explore. And I realize that the town doesn't want to take on yet another responsibility and complication and burden. So I've had my 3 minutes and probably then some.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to
All right.
put well on the head.
Thanks. Kate, anyone online for this topic? Yes. Please bring them in.
David, you can go ahead.
Yeah, David Moskowitz, and I live every day in Dewey Beach, so I experience the winter storm every 3 years or so. And the proposed snow ordinance still needs significant revision. So the town's recent poll was biased. The first option presented no downsides, and it left out the potential $400 per property snow clearing costs, while the next 2 options showed cons. And that framing steered responses rather than offering a balanced view. More importantly, the current proposal raises fairness issues. At the June meeting, it was stated that all property owners, which includes residential and businesses, are legally responsible for clearing snow. But enforcement was changed between the May to June meeting to apply only to certain properties, exempting others, including commissioners. And that's inconsistent and undermines the principle of equal responsibility. If you have a sidewalk or pathway in front of your property, you should be required to maintain it or make arrangements to do so. If you go past where Route 1 divides, there's 2 or 3 blocks of sidewalk, but yet that wouldn't be required to be cleared because it's technically off of Route 1. So, I mean, again, if you have a sidewalk or pathway, there's no reason the town should not be requiring to be cleared because the people are legally liable. And what's going to happen is if the town says to people, you don't have to clear your property because you're not on Route 1, it's going to be far worse in winters because people regularly park and walk on side streets, making sidewalk access or pathway access just as important for safety. I mean, where do you think the people from Woody's and Starboard Claw are parking? They're parking on the side streets. There's also practical concerns. The ordinance lacks clarity on where snow should be placed. I mean, you remember Jim Deegan at the last meeting saying if the property owner moves snow to the street and DelDOT later pushes it back on a sidewalk, who's responsible? But taking a step back, if the property owner takes it from the street, from the sidewalk to the street, and DelDOT takes it from the street to the sidewalk, I mean, there needs to be clarity where should the snow go. KMO also said there was no snow floor in the ordinance, and 1 inch can get a fine. It's great they're saying 2 inches, but the town doesn't even do anything until 3 inches, so 3 inches should be the number, not 2. And Dewey employs at least 2 well-compensated maintenance staff. For a storm that happens roughly once every 2 or 3 years, it seems reasonable that they could handle the public sidewalk with the equipment. And I guess the next question is sort of for the next agenda item, but this, if someone charges others for shoveling, would they need a business license? Because trying to get someone to come to Dewey is almost impossible when you're trying to get a shoveler, but trying to get someone and have them get a business license at the same time to shovel snow is might be a big barrier. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, I'd like to, hearing everyone's comments, both from a council standpoint as well as a town standpoint. I share some of the opinions here at the table as well as out there. I do believe, especially on Route 1, it's a public safety issue. I can tell you, considering what Commissioner Gibbons had said, when I was in Baltimore, I owned a commercial property and as well as residential properties. I was responsible for my sidewalks. And if the sidewalks weren't cleared, I would be fined. Sometimes I didn't even know I was fined until I tried to sell one of the properties and found out that they charged $450 for one incident of not shoveling a sidewalk. While I believe that this has merit for us moving forward, I do believe it is the property owners. I do believe that they should be responsible for theirs, and it should not be necessarily on the town. That's not to say the town couldn't help, but I also fear that by putting in, as this ordinance is written, are there some properties therefore will elect to pay the fine versus paying for the snow removal because it's such a minimal amount, in my opinion. Where somebody like the Starboard might say, I'll pay the fine, because it's gonna be a lot cheaper than bringing my team in, not pointing at the Starboard specifically, or the Hyatt. So with that being said, and I agree with Gary, I understand from your perspective, is everyone's using the sidewalks. But are we putting something on our plates when it really should be the individual's plates? And is there a liability by pulling it on us, onto the town's responsibility? If somebody then, if we're saying it's not, if it is the town's responsibility and somebody slips and falls, where's that liability?
Good point.
Happen?
We had one view from the attorney who was here at the last meeting that the town would probably not be liable, but Fred may have a different view.
Then my colleague, Barry, I would defer to him on that. I think that's the case. There's a tort immunity statute that municipalities benefit from. That's likely the kind of thing that would fall into that.
We know if somebody slips and falls, even when it's not snow, we have potential of getting sued.
Civilly.
Yes.
Yep.
Council, is there a motion that I hear?
I just want to float something on. What if we did a snow removal assessment of $10 or something for a property owner? Can we put a snow removal fee in as,
I think it would need to be $10 a foot.
no, $10 a household? What do we have?
Nobody would shovel their walks in over
Right.
three, in a
But we'd have the
4-inch
money
snow.
to buy the equipment and do this stuff for them, and it's a shared expense, to Gary's point of, hey, it's $10.
I think we have like 16 or 1,700 units in the town. Is that the number of properties we have in the town? So that would be $17,000 a year.
Right. And if we don't need it the following year, we don't charge it. If, you know,
Can we do
when we
that?
need it, we can put
Do we
it
have-
back in.
But do we have a basis for doing that in code or charter?
I don't know. I mean,
So
I'm just floating it out there for
Yeah.
now.
if it were a tax, we would not be authorized, because that would be a new tax that must be authorized by our charter. If it's some kind of an assessment, which would require a little bit of study to determine whether we could characterize it as something other than a tax, then it's possible it would be permissible. But usually assessments are tied to some specific use, or you somehow, due to your conduct, subject yourself to an assessment because you're using public property for a particular reason or something like that. So it's probably something we cannot do.
So, Paul, one thing to think about is I think there's a large sentiment among the populace of Dewey that they're not really thrilled about the idea of what they would call a services tax, you know?
Right.
You know, so I suspect if we went in that direction, tried to enable it, that we'd get a lot of feedback and wait a minute, we're not really looking.
Yeah, if we don't have the budget for it, we need to get the money from somewhere.
Right.
So
But in the current
where do we take
scenario
it
where
from?
it is the property owner's responsibility, what this is attempting to do is in addition to being the property owner's responsibility, that there's a fine for not clearing it.
Well, I guess my take, my feedback was, I don't want people who are not here to feel like they're in some punitive thing where they're gonna have some additional fine and they've gotta set somebody up for the winter for a snowstorm that may never come, and all that. So I think if we say the fine is $0, but if you don't do it, you'll be billed your proportional costs for the town hauling it out. I think there's some merit in that. I mean, Bill's not gonna, he's not the type to try to find the most expensive guy. Businesses would hopefully still take care of it, but he's like, look, how much is it gonna cost me to get the rest of these sidewalks done? And he basically prorates the charges they did for the people who didn't clear their sidewalks. It's not punitive, it's just, hey, it cost us $2,000, $3,000 to do it, and we're allocating this to the people who didn't shovel their sidewalks. To me, it seems like it's a reasonable compromise,
Yeah.
So when in the snow process, after the snow process, when would that be implemented?
He would do it at the 48-hour mark.
48-hour mark,
Required to
so
get it
wait.
done, whatever the mark
Okay.
is to get it done, he would basically be like, look, for the people who didn't do it, I'm gonna, hire someone to do it. And we're not gonna make people pay if DelDOT comes in and shovels stuff back onto their thing, because it's not very fair. And I don't think we have to go down to side streets. I think the major safety issue really is on
It
the
would just be a Route 1 sidewalk.
and hopefully, the businesses and the people who do currently take care of it will continue to do so, Could we really force them? No, but we're not really forcing them to do it, So, to me, this seems like a reasonable way to handle it. And, some people won't like the fact that they're gonna get a bill to do it, but pretty much every municipality does it,
Right. Okay.
I'm still troubled. We're not every municipality. We're different. We have a small number of property owners that border Route 1. And you're asking them to pay the entire cost, which I don't see the equity there. I don't see the fairness in that at all. We all benefit from it, but yet most of us, the large majority of us, certainly don't have to pay for it. So I just don't see the fairness of the equity there. I like your proposal certainly better. If you put a floor in here and get rid of the fines, I think that is a better solution, but I still think it is not fair to the people along Route 1.
I'd like to have an outcome in which the property owners are still ultimately responsible for what's facing Route 1. I would not want to see a restaurant or a HOA association that's already paying a landscaper to company to be out there to not do it and to put it on the town to have from taking our resources. And if it is so that we keep that as responsibility at over minimum, it could be 2 or 3 inches, I don't really care. But if they don't do it, that we do bill them for our costs and it's reasonable cost, I don't think that it's an unfair approach. Okay? So is there a motion that we can do that everyone is reasonably happy?
Well, we need to add in a minimum. If it's less than, if somebody said 3 inches is when the town starts to clear, so if it's less than 3 inches, this is not in play.
3 inches after 48 hours.
More than 3 inches after 48 hours,
Okay,
yes.
so I'll make a motion, we'll do it in a second.
You always do such a good job.
So the motion will be to adopt this. The fine will be changed to a $0 fine. But property owners will still be responsible if they did not shovel the snow themselves within the 48-hour time frame. The property owners will be responsible for the proportional costs of what the town incurs to have it done. It will apply for Route 1 only. The minimum threshold will be 3 inches of snow.
After 48 hours.
And 48 hours is the ultimate threshold of time they have to get it done. And property owners are not responsible for snow pushed back onto the sidewalk in front of the property by
Motion?
Hold on, a motion first, do I have a second for that?
I will second.
Okay,
this
now for
motion.
discussion, go ahead.
Scott Sheffo, Maintenance Supervisor. About this snow removal, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the equipment. Del Dot runs every 15 minutes. It just gets wider and wider and wider. So it stops snowing on Monday, Thursday and Friday, they're still pushing snow. Every time it rolls into the street, they push it back. So you're gonna be cleaning sidewalks every day. It took us almost a week to go from Rodney up to Clayton.
And that was only on
That
the
was only
west
on one side.
Because the east side of the street was under construction with the project, the ADA construction. So we didn't even try to clear the east side. It was just the west side.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, the problem with that is what you just said is this could cost an individual homeowner not $300, but $900.
You can't legally take the snow from the sidewalk and blow it onto the street.
I get
So
that.
everything on the street's got to get out of there. So when the truck comes by again in 15 minutes, he doesn't take, but he's taking snow from the next block and pushing it down after this block's already been cleared. You know, I did the same block of sidewalk for, I don't know how many times. You do it, a couple hours later, you go back and do it again.
Do you have a proposal for us to consider?
Pray for no snow.
Okay. I can't put
Scott.
that in an ordinance, but I appreciate the sentiment.
It's all about money. I mean, we're not robots, you know, we gotta go home too. And where are we gonna keep the equipment? It's the other thing. Everybody says take it to West Rehoboth. Well, it's getting piled up over there now. We got, you know, if you're gonna have extra snow blowers and everything else, you're out in the elements all day long. Need heat. Need food. Now you gotta go to the bathroom and you're clear across the town. I don't want a fine. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Person.
Well, is the motion to bring this back to you at a later date with language that reflects the motion,
I
or?
tried to outline what the changes to the ordinance would be in my motion.
Okay.
We've had this on the agenda now, for this is the third month.
I know there's a desire to dispose of this.
And it's desire, and I think what, my opinion, and we'll get, my opinion is what Commissioner Jazinski put forth, I think takes everyone's comments into play, that it is still their responsibility, and that if there needs to be portion growth, I understand what Commissioner McPherson says, that everyone is to the benefit of those sidewalks being cleared, and for a maintenance person who's had to live the nightmare of not being able to throw it into the street, being pushed back. So,
But we don't have a feasible solution to this issue of DelDOT pushing snow back onto the
Right.
sidewalk, other than paying, bringing a vendor in again and clearing the sidewalks and then billing the property owners. That just, increases the unfairness of the whole proposal. I don't feel that it's a working proposal. we're not most municipalities, and it's not unexpected that if you live in the city and everybody has a sidewalk, that you're responsible for that. People, kids have to go to school, people have to get to church, people have to get to the bus stop and get to their jobs. That's not the case here in Dewey Beach, particularly when it snows. I mean, everything just really slows down. I can't vote for the proposal. I thank Commissioner Jazinski for his proposal. I think it's better than what we had with a 3-inch floor, is that what's included here? And no fine. But I'm still troubled by the inequity of making the smaller number of property owners responsible for clearing the sidewalks and keeping them clear after Delta comes in and keeping it clear repeatedly, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. My proposal requires that they do it initially, and I was quite clear that if DelDOT pushes snow after they've cleared it back onto the sidewalk, that the property owner is not responsible for that.
Okay, I did not get that.
Yeah, I was clear in my proposal that they're not responsible for that. That's an unfortunate reality that the town has to deal with, but the property owner has to have the initial responsibility for getting it done. You know, is my proposal. They are not responsible for if DelDOT comes in after they do it and pushes snow back onto their.
You did say that.
But then what happens? I mean, the DelDOT comes in, the property owner clears the sidewalk, DelDOT comes back, pushes snow back on the sidewalk, then what?
It's going to end up on a sidewalk eventually.
So, what's the solution?
I got a thought.
Let it melt?
Commissioner Barrett.
I got a thought here. So we have some capital cost here of what the equipment would cost. If somebody's going to end up paying for it, it's going to come out of a bucket of the towns, whatever it happens to be, Scott's time. But how much would the equipment cost, and could we maybe get some grant money from the state for that? CTF or something?
We may be able to get CTF for it. It's not a guarantee. Then there's the maintenance of the equipment, the storage of the equipment, and it's more than just one snow blower going down the sidewalk.
Right.
It's much more than just than that suggestion involved in this.
Let's just say let's say we got some funding to cover the cost of the equipment. Now that could be from the state. Maybe some of the businesses want to kick in on it or something, or some residents want to do it. But if we get that covered, then we have the expense of what it's going to be. Do we have a set aside? I mean, we got to fund it somehow. So is that an infrastructure? Is that, where do we put it?
When it snows, the feedback we got in the previous meetings, that when it snows, the maintenance team is already 100% on just dealing with the side streets that they have to deal with.
In King Charles.
Yeah, and so they're not gonna have time to do it, so Bill would have to hire outside people to do it, which everyone knows when it's snow, what does your rate do? Your rate goes way up, because you need, you're looking to make a quick buck. So it's gonna get expensive pretty quickly, besides just us having the equipment.
Right, pray for no snow.
Yeah.
We might go 5 years without it now, who knows? I mean, we've gotten hit, but now we'll get lucky
In the 4 years I've been here, we've had 3 snowstorms. One the first year I was here. They shut us down for about a week, 4 days. And then this past winter, we had 2 that we had to clear the streets.
Right. Well, I think we need to find the money. My motion would be to table this to see how we could get it paid for, and go along with Dave's suggestion here that, the primary responsibility goes to the person. If they want to clear it themselves, that's great, and I think most of the people that are open are going to do that. It's the ones that aren't. But then when we have to get involved in it, we have to cover the cost somewhere. If we can't pass along the $10 basket for everybody to kick in, then we got to figure out what fund it's going to come out of to pay for it.
I think based on town resources, we're going to have to hire somebody to do it. We can't do it with the staff that we have, even if we buy them pretty equipment.
Right.
That's not going to get us out of the side street King Charles clearance problem.
So we had a motion and we had a second.
We don't have agreement.
We don't have agreement. Commissioner Bauer has put forth a motion to table this and to
let's add up what the cost is going to be. I mean, I think we have an idea, but then we'll have to have a discussion on where we're going to fund it from. We have to set aside some money. Some years we won't use it. Most years we won't use it. Some years we will.
So an additional budget line item for snow removal.
Yeah.
Do I have a second on that?
Yeah, I'll second that. I would like to see us try something for a year.
Okay.
See how that works and then come back and fine tune it. I believe it should be a town expense.
Is there any issue, Fred, with using infrastructure funds to pay for snow removal?
I mean, I have to look at the language, but we've gotten questions like these in the past, and oftentimes the answer falls that that's beyond, that proposal is beyond our right to use infrastructure funds.
And it's
This
not
is
just-
likely the case.
It's not just an
Yeah,
equipment
I would
issue,
just
it's the
throw it out.
person to operate the equipment too.
That's at least part of it.
It may not be covered currently under the code, but you can change the code. It's not a charter thing, it's a code issue, so it can be changed if you chose to do that.
If we're exploring other options, is it a possibility, much like we have, I think you called for all this already, Mr. Town Manager, that we get proposals like for the beach people that do the trash or we get those requests for proposals. What you're telling me, when you tried to get for snow removal, there was only one company that was interested in doing it?
Yes, out of the 4 that I asked.
Okay,
When you just do sidewalks,
right.
there was only one company.
Another question, Sheena, this is unfortunately directed at you. Set aside money. I know we put 20% of building permits into infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other account that goes into infrastructure? We used to, I don't know if we still do.
The commissioners changed that, so there's nothing else that goes in there.
Okay, I was afraid of that.
Do we need to vote?
No.
Is ours withdrawn?
We need to vote on the two. So is there any, vote on the initial from David?
Well, I think
Do you
I
have a
just
motion
withdraw.
to table?
We had a motion and a second
Can we
on the initial
withdraw it?
proposal, which is David's
You can
proposal.
just withdraw the motion and take Paul's motion to the table.
Well, a motion to table takes precedence over another standing motion.
Okay,
All right.
cool.
So someone has to second Paul's motion.
Correct.
Gary
Gary
did.
did.
Second, all in favor of tabling this to gather more research to look at the next snowfall and potentially put additional funds in a budget to cover for this coming winter? All in favor? Aye.
Just a quick thing, I think there is a public policy that might apply better in other places than it does here, that the duty to clear sidewalks is more fairly borne by people who are operating businesses than by individuals. Businesses are attracting people, and they benefit disproportionately by having safe means of access to those businesses. Now, in the middle of wintertime in Dewey Beach, I don't know how many businesses there are that are operating.
5 or 6.
5 or 6, most of them are. So that's what,
Plus HOAs.
in fairness to
Do HOAs count as
Commissioner Person
businesses?
Dewey Beach is a different animal than some others, so maybe that public policy doesn't apply quite as well here.
But it doesn't change the fact, I know that we just motioned, and we're on to the next agenda item, that the businesses are, the people that are currently have businesses on Route 1 are still responsible for the snow removal of their businesses, of the sidewalks.
Even if they are not in operation during the winter
Correct.
months? Yes,
Correct.
please and thank you.
All right, go on to item D, discuss possible vote to amend 11712 municipal code regarding violations for failure to acquire a business license. It says Ms. Hinks, but I think this is
Jim.
Mr. Dedes. James Dedes.
Right here, boss. This has come up periodically where we end up getting businesses that do work in town, they don't have business licenses. And a lot of them really are doing construction work. Not everybody does that, but we do have that, and most of them come out that way. So I think the issue here is, how do we address this and deal with people that come in here and do work without a business license? Now, our code enforcement officer catches a lot of these people, and they do come in. We don't stop work for the most part, but when we get repeat offenders, we stop work and we make a determination as to whether to fine them or not. So what we're asking is to look at this as a problem that we've got. We've got the $500 in the fine. I don't think it should be a shall issue that we have to fine it, but a may be fined. And I think that would be a little bit better language. And we do question whether we're going to fine them for every day. I mean, that can be pretty expensive. So what we've thought is, what we think is, and what we've seen is, we've run into situations where people have done work we weren't aware of it. And usually somebody complains and we go out, we look at the work and it's done, and the person may not have a business license, and the property owner didn't authorize the person to do it, didn't get a permit for it. So it's a complicated issue, but I think with the fine situation, I think we can at least address it. But $500 a day, and I've got some that have gone back in April this year that we caught, and to do a show for $500 a day just seems to be a little punitive. So those are our comments. But we do run into business, and we try not to stop them, but most of them come in and get them almost the same day. But it is a problem that we have, and it deals with rental license, the same thing. It's kind of a business license situation. And we do have businesses that do that periodically. They forget to get their license, or they do the work, forget the business license. And a lot of the vendors, they rely on the vendors, but we know that the property owner is responsible. And the communications we've had with property owners, well, I thought he was doing it. So you get into who struck first. So we try to negotiate it out, but we'd like to have at least some leeway not to fine them every day. That just doesn't make sense.
Before we open it up for council, I just want to, because of Jim's Greek accent, I just want to, it's not shall, it's shall. So it's that shall we versus we may.
From a Greek immigrant, I do have problems with the language.
So just be clear, when you look at the ordinance, he's potentially changing that one word from shall to may.
Which shall are we talking? Are we talking about the first shall? Or
The one down here, this violation may.
I think it's a great suggestion.
Any questions of Mr. Didi's counsel before we open up for public comment?
I have a question and a comment. I would not change it to may. The problem with may is, how do you decide? And what criteria do you use for deciding? And, if you decide that one person gets a fine and then you decide another person doesn't, that second person, that first person may feel aggrieved because of that. You either get fined or you don't. I mean, if you don't have a business license, you don't have a business license, so you're subject to a fine. There's a question, should it be every day? Another $500 for every day, that seems pretty steep to me. Maybe it should be a longer period perhaps, but you know what happens better than I certainly.
We don't, we do take some liberties on the fines, we do. And I would rather see that also up to $500, doesn't have to be $500. We do use some reasonable common sense. I think we have that on occasion, and we don't go after everybody. And I think it can be a punitive thing, and people make mistakes. Our goal is to try to encourage people to do the right thing, to do the building. We don't want to stop building business licenses. And I've actually written fines of that, and I've actually been a little more punitive and told them that they're not going to be allowed to do work for 1 year, even though I think I may have stretched it. But we've had some egregious situations that we take the liberty of making some distinctions between a small mistake or somebody who gets caught for putting a gate on a fence, and we make them go get. You don't want to do a fine. I just feel that it's not right to do a $500 fine. But that's my point of view. You all have to make that decision.
Mr. Didi's, can you remind me, isn't a day, if a contractor comes to my house to do work and they wanted to get a day license,
They can get a day license, and
and
it's
then what is the cost of those day licenses?
about $50, 25, 35, 25, right around.
27. Yeah, because I get it for contractors occasionally. It's like $27.
So it's $27 a day.
And as a homeowner, you can fill it out on behalf of your contractor and just send it in so they're covered. Because a lot of contractors, if they're not doing much business here, they don't want to bother with it, right?
Right.
Just a minor thing. So I just fill it out on their behalf, send it in when I'm not going to be there.
Questions of Mr. Didi's?
What I just heard Jim say, even that the first shall, his suggestion should be a may. so that when you find that someone is operating, has done work without a business license, Jim seems to want to change that to that
Up
person
to.
may be
Up
subject to a fine of, or
Or shall
maybe-
be up to 500.
Well,
That means
that
there's
could
something.
be. But again, how do you decide where? Where, it's from 0 to 500, how do you?
Gary,
what criteria do you
agree.
use?
I think it's more difficult to put this in a, I do think the shall puts us into a difficult position versus,
Well, I think if you notify someone, if you find that someone does not have a business license, you can then give them notification that they must obtain a business license within a certain period of time, or they will be fined $500. And then you could define a successive period after that, if they still don't have a business license, that they could be fined another $500. I just don't want to put the town in the position of trying to make judgments about how much of a fine up to $500, or whether or not you get a fine at all. It just seems to me if you don't have a business license, you're doing work, you're notified that you have to have a business license, and you don't get one, you should get fined.
So you want something about notification in there first, perhaps?
Yeah, I think that makes sense to notify them if they have to go get a business license without being subject to a fine initially. But there would be a time period within which they would have to get the business license. I mean, does that work, Jim, or?
Yeah, it does. Most of the time, quite frankly, when we catch these people, they come immediately to town hall and get a business license.
And then we don't find them, correct?
No, we don't find them.
Right. That makes sense.
that's logical.
If you want to put a timetable, we're okay with that. I just think if somebody's putting replacing a front door may cost $1,000. Do we want to charge a $500 fine? And technically, we can also we have doubled the cost of the permit too. By the way, we have done that because it calls for if you do construction without a permit, we will double the cost of the permit. So
That's on the homeowner.
yeah, it's on somebody. We always go after the homeowner, but usually the homeowner ends up getting it. They work out an arrangement with the building, whoever the contractor is.
Anyone here like to make public comment concerning this? Kate, anyone online? All right. I would like to proceed, council.
Wait,
Go.
comment now. David, go ahead.
Yeah, just there needs to be some sort of set number, not a vague or arbitrary penalty, because that's unenforceable. Like, you need to have some sort of number so people know you don't have a license, this is the number. It can't just be at the discretion if someone's having a good day or not.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Thomas.
Is there a way to rephrase this so it matches what Mr. Dede has described to us happens? That, and it's a little bit like what we have been doing with parking and violations on the beach. You get a yellow card, you get a warning, you have the chance to fix it, and if you don't fix it, then you get fined. Is there a way, Commissioner Persinger, that you'd like to reword this so it reflects that?
Yeah, guess I would say, shall have committed a civil offense pursuant to Chapter 81 of the Municipal Code of Dewey Beach, period. I'm not sure what term to use, any.
We could just say, we could just say this, shall be subject to a fine of $500 if they do not obtain said license within 7 days.
After being notified of the licensing requirement. Okay.
That seems
That
reasonable.
works, yeah.
I was thinking shorter, but
Yeah,
7 days is-
I would
About 3
say
days?
probably
days.
2 or 3 days. I mean, it's
72
just a matter
hours.
of-
Within 3 business days.
3 business days.
Fine.
That's good, yes.
Okay,
I like that.
and
That's
then each violation following this could be a separate offense. Like, you've now been told that you need to have
Yeah,
it, and you come back in town again and don't have it,
The license fee is typically less than the $500, so they're gonna do it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of my,
That seems
So
reasonable.
eliminate that second sentence.
I don't think the successive ones are needed. I think we just give them 3 business days after they've been notified and they're subject to a fine of $500.
Okay, I like that.
All right.
Okay.
Bruce?
Sure.
Motion for whatever I just said.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item E. Discuss possible vote to amend 71-7 of the municipal code regarding limitation for constructions performed on holidays. Mr. Zolper.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as we continue to go through the town ordinances, our town clerk's doing a really good job. We noticed that some holidays were treated different than others. So we think the way to fix that is just say all holidays that are observed by the state of Delaware, we'll follow that for our construction, when construction can be done and when it can't be done, instead of having different categories of holidays.
Okay.
Did we used to have a carve out for homeowners, and is that going away, or is that changing?
It's still in there.
The carve out's the same for homeowners as it used to be?
It's, I believe it's under two, it's under one, then it goes to two. If you look at 2A,
Right.
it's still there.
So this is just.
Under exceptions.
So this is us following
Just
the state
defining it.
and defining limitations.
Yeah. I'll motion that.
Oh,
Can I had a comment. There was a definition in there for construction activities. I recommend that we put that definition with the rest of the definitions. That's, like 10 years ago, there was a big reorganization effort to put all the definitions together. So I think that would be consistent if we did that.
Okay.
Agreed.
That's my only.
Nice idea. Yep.
Anyone here for public comment on item E regarding construction performed on holidays? Anyone online, Kate? Not seeing any. Any other comments, council? Other than moving the definition to the definition area of our charter? Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, it's not, it has, my computer is just not working.
Can you charger?
No, it's just.
Maybe you need a new computer, Gary. Yeah, maybe you need a new computer.
Word out.
All right, item F. We're on to the chief.
Chief.
All right, item F, discuss possible an ordinance to amend 85-131A of municipal code to revise procedure for penalties for disorderly dwellings.
All right, the,
Some background, please.
The main reason why we're making this ordinance change is to make it a civil citation versus a criminal arrest. All right, so basically, if you respond to a house, you have a loud party complaint, you have a bunch of people, you're having a gathering, and you're playing music, and it's too loud, and you get a complaint, we respond. Well, the citation would be an arrest. Well, you're not gonna arrest somebody for that. That's not reasonable, so you could write them a citation, a civil citation. And most likely what would happen is if we got that complaint, we would respond and we say, your neighbors are complaining, you need to turn the music down, shut the doors, you have a lot of people
Shut the
here,
windows.
quiet down. You give them a warning, they comply. If you get a second call, then you go back and you write the citation. And the citation would be a $250 fine. So that's what we're looking to change. We want to make it a civil. We're
From
looking at-
criminal to civil.
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of our ordinances to change it
Okay.
to civil, and most towns like Rehoboth Beach, a lot of their violations are just civil.
Okay, makes sense. Questions, council?
I have the same question on all three of them, so I'll start it now. You can tell me every time. Should we do something if there's more than 2 violations? Should it switch to something else? Like you go out, you warn, you go back and you write the citation, and you have to go back a 3rd or a 4th time.
We could increase the fine if you go back again. But the goal is to get it away from a criminal violation, just to make it civil. So you could increase the fine. You go, first time that you warn, but you don't have to warn, it depends. You could go to the house and they don't comply and are very disorderly and don't want to listen to a word you said. At that point, you would get the homeowner's information and you would write them a citation. So there would not be warning. It depends on how they respond to you and your arrival on the scene. But yes, you could increase the fine as you go along. So we could put that in the act if you like. Otherwise, like you said, if we went back again, then we'd write another citation for $250. So you could have an escalating fine structure. But definitely a set amount, no random amount. It needs to be $250, then maybe the second offense, you could take it to $300, $350, whatever you choose.
Commissioner Jazinski, you want to say something?
I want some input from Fred on these various changes.
You want input?
You want something more specific?
Is it legal to do? Is it the right thing to do?
No,
Is
So I recall, and I think Mr. Jasinski may recall, that at times we have endeavored to make civil certain violations of conduct that had been criminal in the past, and we've gotten some pushback. And pushback alone is certainly not a reason. It shouldn't be, that doesn't dictate what policy is, how much pushback you get or don't get. But we had gotten pushback in the past over civil violations because from a civil violation, you have no right of appeal. So if the Alderman Court were to find you responsible for a civil violation, the Alderman's Court could fine you, I believe, up to $1,000, at least by jurisdiction. In a criminal case, the Alderman, if the Alderman imposes a criminal fine of more than $100, you have a right of appeal. So there seems to be some disparity there, that if it's a civil violation, we're not talking about imprisoning people here. We don't generally sentence people to 30 days. But civilly, there is no right of appeal. There doesn't appear to be any right of appeal from the Alderman. From a conviction's not the right word, but from the judgment of an Alderman. So that's what I think has caused some pushback at times over moving to a civil penalty. Also, when charged with crimes, I believe defendants might have a right to transfer their prosecution to the Court of Common Pleas. That might not be in every case. I don't know if you know the answer to that or not. It might be only certain crimes that are stated in state law, and in those instances, you can move the case or transfer the case to the Court of Common Pleas, and you wouldn't be able to do that in a civil matter, I don't think. And if the case does get transferred, any fines that are imposed become payable to the state as opposed to Dewey Beach. So there's a image issue with, by encouraging or limiting the opportunity to transfer a case, the city is protecting a revenue stream or something, or the town, I should say, which is clearly not what's ever.
Well, the intent here, I think, from a layman's perspective, is that having a civil violation versus criminal violation carries a lot more long-term effect on the individual. So the benefit, this was looked at as a benefit to the individual.
Right. Yep.
So.
Yes. You'll have a criminal record if you get that's a criminal arrest. If I write you a criminal citation, it's a criminal arrest that you have to go before the court, and it will be on your record unless you can get it removed from your record. So the goal is to write a civil citation, first warn, we have a problem, they don't listen, we write a citation. That's the same thing as we're going to talk about the notice ordinances. So we don't want to spend our time arresting people for minor offenses, where we'd rather do that for major offenses.
Fred, is there any restriction on us for the same type of thing, having a civil option and a criminal option, depending on the police officer's judgment about what's needed? You know what I mean? So that it's under both codes, it's under both the civil code and the criminal code.
I've never heard of that.
I don't know. I've not seen it written that way. I mean, the Alderman has jurisdiction in both civil and criminal matters, but I don't know that behaviors are described as being subject to either. I guess there are instances where a code might say something like you're liable to for a civil penalty of whatever, and then on a third occasion, maybe you committed a crime. I think I've seen language like that before.
Normally, I mean, there would be something else you would find. So if we were gonna do a town ordinance and we change it to civil, we would write a civil citation.
Right.
But then you would try to find some other state charge if you wanted to do it criminally. But as I said, the goal is to do this as a civil citation and
So-
not arrest somebody.
Whatever house is called, a loud house, noise violation, disorderly house, that would be civil. But if somebody in the disorderly house was drunk and belligerent and went toward an officer, that would be a different type of charge and unrelated to this.
That would be disorderly conduct, which would be a criminal offense. This is just
Right.
more
I guess that's
towards
along
the
the line.
noise of a
This is just
disorderly
noise
house.
ordinance.
Noise of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is different than commercials. That's why it's a disorderly dwelling.
Mr. Presinger?
Okay, I had some questions. First of all, this, a simple one. The first part of the ordinance, this was section 1, paragraph 2. It talks about disturbance being committed within the presence of a peace officer. Since we're changing paragraph 3 to involve town staff in use of sound meters, should that previous reference to the peace officer be changed?
You in the right ordinance?
Disorderly houses, yeah. I believe
What
that.
section are you in?
If you look at section 1, paragraph 1, and then under that, 2,
Paragraph.
there's a reference to peace officer at the end of that paragraph.
Line 40.
Line 40.
Yeah, I'm sorry, line 40. Thank you. That's the
Okay.
easy way to do that. And then in line, 50, you're changing use of the sound meter to town staff as well as police officers. So again, it's a minor issue, but that reference to peace officer, should that be broadened to include any town staff who might be involved in monitoring things like this? Or is this only this only happened in response to a complaint?
Well, a police
Unless that's with or
officer
without
is
a
gonna be
complaint.
the one that responds to a loud house, a town staff member. This would be a call for service for the police to respond to, not somebody from the town. This isn't just like going to a business and doing a sound check. This is actually a disorderly dwelling call. So
Okay.
a person from the town wouldn't respond to this because we would be the one
But
responding.
I think why it was written this way is, let's say the police officer that police officer responds not trained with the noise meter, but there's one of your seasonals that you have, for noise is trained in it. That person could then accompany the police officer, and that person would, even though the police officer is in a citation, the town staff member would be operating the noise meter. That's what I think the language is for there. So that if the police officer isn't trained, they can have another town staff member who is trained operate the noise meter. That's how I interpreted it.
Well, the
Well, you're-
seasonals are considered police officers or peace officers, so, I mean, we don't have any other, the only person that would be trained is the town manager
Okay.
on that, so.
There might have been a time when we were contemplating having a staff person or a code officer who
That sounds-
was
To do
assigned
that.
these responsibilities.
Yeah. But it would be that would be a call for service for the police department. We would respond, we would write the citation. So, I mean, we could,
Okay. That was supposed to be a minor question, not.
Yeah. I get what
So
you're
in any case,
saying.
we don't need to change that.
No, we can leave that.
Okay. Then farther down, where we're talking about violations and penalties, why is there a proposal to reduce the fine? It was, 300, but not more than 500 for the first offense. Why have a lower fine than we have existing now?
Like it'd be 300 instead of 250?
Well, it could be 300, it could be 400. I mean, the previous language.
Said
allowed it up to
300, okay,
500.
or nor more than 5. And that was once again, in our code, you have a variance. It could be 300, nor more than 500. So then you could pick and choose, and it should be a set amount. I think 250 was suggested because, as she said, maybe the secondary would, you'd bump it up to 500. And when we talk about the commercial, when we go to noise about them, we're looking at 500 because they're a commercial business and this is a home. So we reduce it 250 and then 500 for commercial.
Okay. Then paragraph 2, so we can leave that at 250, I suppose. I just wanted to see why the lower fine seemed reasonable. But paragraph 2, I really trouble parsing that language. I think the intent here is that if someone has 2 violations, if there are 2 violations for the same property within a year period, 365 days, that the owner of that property could be, or whoever it is that has the rental license, could be subject to having that license terminated. And if there's a real estate agent involved, you might terminate the real estate agent's business license, Dewey Beach business license. The first question is, do real estate agents need a Dewey Beach business license?
I think we may have we endeavored to require that years ago, and then I think maybe state law preempted our authority to do that.
That's sort of my recollection. I thought there was some
Not actually doing
qualification
business
also.
in-
If you what?
They're not actually, like Coldwell Banker's not doing business in Dewey Beach.
Right, but I thought if there was somebody in Dewey Beach who's located in Dewey Beach, you couldn't require a business license for them. But as I recall, at some point we decided, well, there aren't very many of those, so there's no reason to have a license for them.
Yeah, I don't think that we take that view anymore, that an individual who works from a broker's office outside our jurisdiction, who comes into our jurisdiction to show a house, is required to have a business license to do that.
Is Airbnb pays my business license?
Okay,
And they are exempt, I believe, from business licenses.
so we should drop that reference to termination of the real estate business license.
That's fair.
But then I guess still the question is, how does this work? You get one violation, and let's say you get a second violation within 365 days, and that violation is completely adjudicated, that person has been found to have actually committed the violation and has been fined in some way. Is it then the third, if this happens a third time, is it then that that person would be subject to losing the business license or the rental license?
So you're saying, is it,
I just understand the process.
Madam Chief?
That portion with the real estate and all that, I thought that was already in the code.
It was.
Not as changed it.
But I've never read it before.
Yeah, that was already there. That's not something we're adding. And my purpose on this part, my big change was to make it civil.
Correct.
And then the 250, and of course, we could add the secondary consequence. I don't agree with 2 violations in the 365-day period, only because if you have renters, you could rent it to 20 different families through a course of 365 days, and they could have multiple, because it's a new party coming in every week when you rent it. So that, I don't agree with that part. I'm talking about the same violation, if it's the same people there. You come back, it's a Friday night, and then it's a Saturday night, you're there again,
And this is a violation to the person who's renting it. Not
renting
the
it.
person
Or
that
if you
rented
live
it.
there and you're the homeowner, yes.
Right.
The person responsible, yes. Yeah.
So I think we
That
need
needs
to
to be
revisit this
tweaked.
language. It's not too clear.
The big thing was for the rest, if we could approve this for summer, if we have these issues, we can write a civil citation. That was the goal.
but let's fix it all the way before we go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Kate, is there someone that would like to give a comment on this? Public comment?
David, go ahead.
Yeah, David Moskowitz, and what you were talking about before is 6 Del C 5302A, which is the preemption of local business licensing for real estate services, and it was passed about in 2020 or 2021, so that real estate agents don't need licenses other than the state, not in every town. I mean, I don't rent, but that is a troublesome thing, because a real estate agent or an owner can't discriminate. And sometimes a grandma will say she wants to rent and give it to her kids, grandkids for senior week. So, I mean, someone can easily get 2 violations through no fault of their own, or 3. And in the past, there's been like trouble houses, but they were actually not rental houses. They were actually owners' kids' houses having parties and stuff. And there would be no penalty for them, but there'd be someone who just rents by the law and then gets 2 or 3, it's like the lottery, 2 or 3 bad things. So the town needs to figure a way to like fix that.
Thank you. All right, so, we've got a few things on the table that we're trying to discuss and trying to correct at the same time. The chief has brought this forth to try to move from criminal to civil. In doing so, we've also uncovered what might appear to be an unfair event in the sense of the revocation of the license in a 365-day period, when it's not actually the owner that's doing it, but it's actually the renter that's doing it.
Well, I do think that we need to keep some mechanism in place for houses that are repeat violators, because, well, it's not as much of an issue now because everything has gone more upscale. We all know in the past, we've had houses that were basically serially rented to different party people, right? Landlords who don't care. So I don't know if the threshold needs to be 2, but I think that if landlords are repeatedly renting their house to party people, they have some culpability in the situation.
So is there a possibility that we could amend section 2 of that to include a violation to the property owner in addition to the renter in the case of that, in case that there is this disorderly dwelling?
Well, I think the penalty for the property owner is if this happens with multiple tenants that you have in, you're ultimately going to lose your rental license.
Right.
You have to screen your tenants well enough and put rules in place for your tenants so that they understand that they can't be a disorderly dwelling.
So to that, number 3 talks about any one summer season. If it's possible to say in number 2, 3, there's 3 strikes within one summer season. And take out the real estate agent business license parts.
Great.
Yeah, me too.
All right, can we put that all into a neat package?
Yeah, I think we need to kind of have it packaged and come back.
So there also likely is under the rental license provision language that says if you're a chronic, if you demonstrate that you don't follow the law, and I believe that would extend to a owner of property that rents it that does not demonstrates over time that they don't screen their renters, that you could withhold their license. Now that would require, I believe, most likely a charge of some sort and an opportunity for them to probably come before you. So we either would have to have some kind of a hearing in which we revoke it or give them the right to, it might very well be that the town manager can revoke the license and then the property owner would have a right of appeal to the commissioners. That's what I suspect I would find if I dug into this.
So that goes back to the beginning, civil versus criminal. So that's the appeal process, right?
So
that's the conflict that we have in there.
Well, it has to do with the business. This is in the context of a business license only.
Business license, okay. And a rental license is a business license or not?
Yes. Yep.
I have a suggestion. Could we, to actually do something today, could we simply strike paragraph 2 and then edit paragraph 3, delete from at its option in addition to the license suspension or revocation, just delete that. So that would be, the town may elect to take action to evict any person forthwith having committed a second offense in violation within any one summer season. So
that takes care of the people living there. What about something for the owner?
well, the owner gets fined. Anybody who's there gets fined $250. So I think we can come back and deal with the issue of the owner's rental license. But in order to change this to a civil offense, allow the police to write civil offense citations and to have a fine, a substantive fine for anybody who violates this, we can come back and fix these other things. But that gets something done today.
I mean, I appreciate the spirit of getting something done. I just feel like there are a lot of moving parts to this. Between the section on how they do a business license and how you tie this back to the owner and the appeal process. I'm not sure that we've really got where we could actually package something verbally up now and have it be clear what we're actually passing.
Well, no, I think it can be very clear. I mean, it defines in the first part of this what constitutes a violation. These are the people actually present in the dwelling unit. There are some requirements on the owner to provide a copy of this section to the tenant or tenants. And then there's a penalty section that says if you commit one of the violations as described above, you're subject to a fine of $250. And if you do this more than twice within any one summer season, you can get evicted. It doesn't go back to the owner at all. We can sort that, my point is we can sort that out later and come back and have a better ordinance that has penalties both for the occupant as well as the owner. But in this case, this focuses on the occupant.
So you're wanting to change section 3, paragraph 2 and 3, lines 66 through 79.
I'm suggesting we delete line 66 through 76, first of all, and then change 77, 78, and 79 to say the town may elect to take action to evict any person forthwith having committed a second offense in violation of this section within any one summer season.
And what would you change it to?
That's how
That would be how I would change it.
Isn't that what it says right now?
No, he took
No, I
out the
would simply
insert.
take out the
License
evidence option
suspension.
and the reference to license suspension or revocation.
Go right to
Okay.
revocation.
Okay.
So all the focus is on the occupant.
Okay. So this doesn't, it's basically what this does is this just deals with occupants and not
Yes.
landlords.
Correct.
And we can
real
come back
estate.
and sort out the owner
Um,
issue later.
Okay, well, I assume the chief doesn't have any issue with that, correct?
No.
Okay. Fred?
I think that's fine.
All right.
All right. So motion?
I will move that we do the changes that were just discussed, which includes taking out the peace officer reference, omitting lines 66 to 76, and omitting the insert between 77 and 79.
Did we decide we were okay with the peace officer?
I think we
Taking
did.
peace officer license, I thought we changed it to police
I-
officer.
I thought
Because we don't have
decided to
any
leave
peace officers.
It really should say police officer. I mean, peace officer is a police officer, it's not just old
We
verbiage.
just changed it to police officer.
Okay.
Our seasonals are police officers as well.
Yeah,
so-
that's why I said change peace officer
Yeah.
to police
Yeah.
officer.
I'm sorry, that was your exit that I didn't get.
I'm sorry, line 40, phrase should be police officer
Okay.
instead of peace officer.
Okay.
Shall we vote?
Yes.
Yes.
We need a second to my,
I'll second.
thank
All
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Well, Kate, can you note that we'll look at that for future meetings in terms of cleaning it up? Item G, discuss possible vote on ordinance to amend chapter 117, article 2 of the municipal code to revise the penalties for commercial establishments in violation of the noise ordinance. Chief, speak.
All right, so
Not
obviously.
Chief, speak.
Go ahead and speak. Obviously, this refers to our businesses, and we've discussed this many times with our noise ordinance for the last several years. So normally what happens, we get a complaint, we use our sound meter, sometimes they're over, a lot of times they're not. We go and ask the establishment to turn it down, and they do. So usually it's a warning first, they're in compliance, they comply. I'm asking, once again, this is listed as a criminal violation. So meaning I would be arresting the manager of the business if they were over the decibels that we have in our ordinance, which are very low, by the way. So I'm asking to make this a civil fine, once again. So for a commercial, I'm asking for it to be 500. Since residential's 250, our commercials would be 500. So once again, an officer, if they're in violation, like I said, we try to work with everybody. We go, we check, we ask them to turn it down. Even if it's not over, we still ask them, say, hey, we have a bunch of complaints. Please turn your bass down or whatever, and they do. They always do. And then if we get another complaint, we go back and we write the $500 citation, and that goes to the manager. It's not the owner, because usually the owner's not there, so you would give it to the manager. Whoever's in charge that night, the manager would get the citation.
So manager, not DJ or band.
No, it would be the manager. And it's like I had discussed before, we're not going out there arresting the bar managers because their music's too loud. That wouldn't be fair to anyone to do that. So I'm asking it for it to be a civil citation, which would make a lot of the people happy that are complaining about the noise ordinances and feeling we're not doing anything. But because we have it listed as a criminal offense, that's why we're just trying to work with them and giving them warnings and saying, please turn it down and going back. So this would at least give us an option to give them a citation. It's a $500 fine.
Any questions for the chief before I open for public comment?
Should there be a penalty for, a difference in penalty for repeated violations?
That's what we had, like the other one. It probably should go up, depending on what amount we prefer if we have to keep going back. And then at some point, it's kind of the same as the other violation. At what point, how many times before you say, or the town manager says, I'm going to revoke your
Right.
your
But we'll
permit
get
for
to that
music.
next.
Yeah, so it's a little different. But this is just for us now to try to deal, and actually our noise complaints have gone way down. As an update really quick, the ones that we talked about last week on North Beach, they did purchase sound curtains, and a week and a half ago, and I haven't received any new complaints from North Beach. I do keep an eye on that, and it's listed on my daily report, so I'm hoping that the sound curtains have helped the situation.
Thank you, Chief.
We've got language in here referring to being found guilty, which is kind of like criminal.
Well, that's gonna have to be moved. Where's that at?
That is in the line 2 of the violations under the word civil, under the phrase civil offense, the next line.
Any person, partnership, business entity, or corporation found in violation of this article shall
Found
be
in-
subject to a fine?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
that's
so
better.
the guilty should just be taken out.
Found in violation.
I have a son in law school, I've learned a few things.
The old school way of reference that would be to say responsible. Like, it's a very oddly phrased, but that we had a lot of that in the code. If you were found responsible for civil offense, that you were assessed a penalty.
So we're cleaning up the language, intent to go from criminal to civil. I'll open up for the public comment. Anyone here from the public that would like to make a comment on this? Kate?
Yep. David, go ahead.
Yeah, David Moskowitz, I had sent in an email, but it's not clear what the abatement will be. If the business just says, hey, we'll take the 500 as a cost of doing business, because they can make it back in probably a few minutes. What would be the follow-up? Would there be a second fine in 30 minutes? Would it be suspension of business license? Like, there should be some description of what the abatement is. It would be, like I sent sample language that was, in addition to the fine, the town may issue an order of abatement requiring the violator to immediately cease the unlawful noise. Failure to comply with the order of abatement may result in escalating enforcement or something like that, because otherwise it's just going to be a cost of doing business.
So that, I don't think that's been our experience whatsoever. I mean, you described the opposite, that they turn it down.
They do.
I think it's true that we can take action against somebody's business license without having it expressed here.
Correct.
For repeated violations or demonstration that the holder of the license is not going to obey the law. Now, that person is entitled to due process, which is going to involve a hearing of some sort. They have to be given a hearing. And that's going to involve the commissioners, but I believe all those, that whole mechanism exists regardless of whether it's reflected in this. And it could be that if we need to strengthen that after making these changes, we'll have some experience to base that on.
And we can make those in the subsequent meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I was involved in a hearing that it happened with one of our businesses, and there was a concern. That's how we ended up going criminal. They requested us to go criminal back then, and that was based upon they felt that they wanted a right to appeal to go to a court, and the concern really came down under civil bond. If they get cited and get fined, then the issue is it goes to the ABC board. That was a big issue. And that was the question, and it came out from one of our reputable restaurants. So I just bring that up because anytime we do a fine, I understand they have to report it to the ABC board, meaning the restaurant. So that's what came up. So I'm just bringing that up so give you some education. How do we went from civil to criminal?
Do you have any insight on that,
I don't recall that. I mean, I'm sure that that happened. I don't recall being involved in that, but I can definitely imagine a scenario where,
But why wouldn't the ABC board want to know if either it was civil or criminal, but there was a fine or penalty put towards the establishment? Why would it only be if it was criminal?
That's not what Jim's saying. Jim's saying it goes up both ways, but with civil, you have no right of appeal. Whereas criminal, you could
You do.
appeal it and potentially not have it go back to the ABC board.
Our alderman actually recommended at the time that we leave it, we go from civil to criminal. I'm going way back now.
I'm
This
not
is
in
an
favor of
alcohol
arresting
violation.
people.
This is
That's,
a noise violation.
It's a noise violation.
Yeah,
it's
not
a
an
noise
alcohol
violation.
All right, council. Let me hear what you're thinking. Yeah, sure. Can you come up to the
Yeah.
mic and state your name? You know, some of us know who you are.
For the record, Jonathan.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Jonathan Feint. I own the rickshaws, and I've understand that there's been a couple complaints about music being pretty loud on our rickshaws. I've informed all my coworkers that to keep it down in the more quiet areas of town. But I will say that it's kind of a safety concern for us on the highway, especially. You know, once you get off the highway, it gets quieter. We definitely need to turn it down and try to keep everybody happy. But on the highway, there's people that are in front of us and like on the sidewalks, and you know, they're just kind of stumbling around, whatever it is. But sometimes they step out into the bike lane, and that affects our safety for bikers, for them, and the people that are our customers riding on our bike. So just, but I have already talked to everybody, and we all understand that, you know, on a quiet street, on First Street or Bayard or something like that, that we need to keep it down and, you know, make everything happy. Which I'm not sure if this even affects the right section of the establishments or anything else, but this was just brought to my attention, and I just wanted to let everybody know that.
You're saying the music helps when it's louder, like on Coastal Highway, so people can hear you coming.
Exactly.
I haven't had any complaints about the rickshaws, as far as us responding to
Oh, yeah,
have to
no.
deal or issue anything to you, so.
Yeah, no, it's usually really good, and it's more in the louder sections of town.
Sure.
Anyway, where just people are in their own minds or in their own world.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but on the side streets, we can absolutely do better, and we will do better.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
All right, council, as we discussed this, we know that the intent was to go from criminal to civil. I think there was somewhat of a disagreement if that's the right path from an appeal process perspective. But conversation. Commissioner Gibbings.
I like keeping things the same across, so civil offense is my preference, but I had not thought about the issue, sorry to be sitting back, about the issue with an appeal. I would say that we go for a civil offense as we've reworded this, and if we have troubles, then we revisit it, because I don't know the ABC laws, but this is a noise violation, not an alcohol violation, so I'm not sure why it would impact their liquor license. But don't know.
Commissioner Persinger?
Yeah, I had not thought about the issue of appeal either. When I read this, I was fine with making it a civil offense, and I thought the fine certainly seemed substantial enough. There is a question of whether or not repeated violations should have additional penalties, but as Fred points out, there is the opportunity, or possibility rather, of doing something to challenge the violator's business license if in fact they're repeat violators. So there seems to be a process for that already in place. So I think I'm basically okay with this.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
As long as Fred's okay, besides what he's kind of talking about.
We don't want to get into business. It's bad practice to arrest your business owners.
So can I have a motion?
Residents.
I move that we accept this ordinance as amended by discussion today.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Final element of our agenda, item H, discuss possible vote on ordinance to amend 85-1321A subsection D of the municipal code to revise procedures, exceptions, and penalties for those violations of the minor curfew. Chief can give us some background.
So once again, we were asking to switch this to a civil citation versus a criminal arrest of a juvenile. And to remove initially, there was, you had to give a warning, and also the fine is being addressed. So if you're out on, let's say Wings to Go parking lot and there's 30 juveniles, it's Friday night, and there's a lot of them underage, and you have to provide them a warning because they're underage and it's 12 o'clock at night. So you provide the warning. Then it's Saturday night and the same kids are out there, but you're not really sure which ones because there was 20 or 30 that you were talking to. It makes no sense. They're in violation. We have signs posted. So if they are in violation and they're out after curfew, you wouldn't have to warn them. You would give them a citation. It's no different than a juvenile who drives a car. For juveniles, they don't have a parent with them. You pull them over for a violation of a traffic law and you issue them a citation. So the same thing, juveniles, just like if you have open alcohol offenses and other things, you issue a citation. So you would still notify the parents. I've just issued your child a civil citation. It's a $100 fine. And this is the curfew law, and they violated the curfew. And it's a civil violation, so it would go to the Alderman court. They'd have to come with their parent to the Alderman court before the Alderman. Right now, we have to give a warning, which, like I said, we have no idea half the time who we've already warned. And it's a criminal arrest, meaning I have to take the child into custody. It's a crime, it's a criminal charge, and it has to go through the family court. So there's a lot of other steps, and transporting the child to the station, and watching them, and having to have a parent come pick up that child.
So with the citation, it is like a moving violation. You get the ticket and you go on your way.
Yes.
Where it is right now, there's all that other kind of
Yes.
stuff. We would not have to do that
Wouldn't have to-
anymore.
Yes.
Now, the reasonable efforts to reach the parents, what does that mean? Do we?
We call.
We call them?
We call the number they give us, or if there's an older sibling, an aunt, an uncle, if they're here with friends, parents, somebody that's responsible, we make an attempt to notify them.
Because I know we've had trouble in the past when we had kids from Wilmington down here, and
Sure.
parents didn't want to come down and get them until
Well, they
the
don't
next
have to
day.
get them with a
Now they
civil
wouldn't have
citation.
to.
If it's a criminal, we have to take them to the station and we have to watch them. And with juvenile
Separately, yes.
regulations, we have to have them separate. So if we had a bunch of adult prisoners, we can't put them in a cell. They have to be in a separate area, and it can't be a secured area. So that takes officers off the street. And then, like you said, if they're from Wilmington, it takes them 3 hours to get here. It takes one of my officers off the street just sitting with this child who violated curfew for 3 hours. So it's an unnecessary thing, and it's a waste of time. Whereas they can be given a citation, we call the parents, and then we say, you need to go home now.
Is this gonna help you significantly with what I'll just call nighttime crowd control in parking lots?
Well, it does help if we're having problems and we want to give a citation versus having an arrest and it takes too many people off the street. I will say it was Memorial Day weekend. I think at one point, the Saturday night, I think we had 12 juveniles at the station for these minor violations, but we have to do it that way because our ordinances don't allow a civil citation.
This is one where I really, really want us to think about what second times would be. Because let's say Friday night you give Joe his citation, and then Saturday night he's back doing it again, and Sunday. At some point, that $100, it's not being a deterrent.
Sure.
So I want to think about when would it cross over? Can we make it cross over into a misdemeanor at some point? If you get so many citations, does it
Second
cover
citation within 72 hours, that covers the weekend.
But I don't think we'd want to go that route. You don't want to mix and match. You want criminal for first event, or civil and criminal. You don't usually do
Yeah, we
that
want
when
civil.
you're
So
charging.
just increase the fines.
There's also a fine for parents. If you look further in
Yes.
this thing, you can cite the parent. But I will tell you, normally when we deal with juveniles and we cite them for open alcohol, or we have to call a parent, or a parent has to come, usually the parents are not happy, and you don't see that child again because, then there comes the part where they're disciplined at home, or they have to leave the
Hopefully.
beach. They're not allowed to return to stay at the beach. So they are effective, and that comes in at all the community service, where a child doing something like this might have to come back and pick up trash for 2 weekends in a row.
Should we put community service as well as the fine? Here we go.
That's handled by the alderman.
Got it, thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Gary.
Were you finished?
Yes, thank you.
So the procedure is a police officer issues a citation to the minor and then makes some effort to contact the minor's parents or guardian.
Yes,
What if they can't contact them? What happens then? What if they can't reach them?
then they can't. They make an effort. When you do the citation, you get a phone number, so you could try to call later or another guardian. You're not required, with a civil citation, you don't have to release them to a parent. So you're just making your best efforts to notify. Just like on a traffic ticket, if I pull somebody over on traffic and I give them a citation, I don't call their parent. It's never required by law to call a parent if I give a child a traffic ticket for speeding. In Delaware, the parent has to go to court with that child, so they know they get a citation, they have to go to court with them.
Okay.
But I don't have to call the parents.
I'm just trying to understand the process. And then the penalties, so the penalty is $100 for a citation, but it says may incur a civil fine of $100. So
Where is that?
then we've got.
Shall and
Wait a
may.
minute.
Line
Yes,
45,
it should-
46.
Yeah, it must be shall.
Oh, it
and
should
may.
be,
Will.
It should be will. Will incur a civil fine
Okay,
of $100.
okay. So that would be for both paragraph A and B.
Does that restrict the alderman's, excuse me for interrupting, to impose, what we were just talking about?
Community
Community
service.
service.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why
That's
the
what I
may's
was
in there. I mean, I'm not an
Could be,
attorney, so.
A minimum fine,
I think that could be
fine
the
of
reason
up
why
to-
may's in there.
a fine of no less than.
May incur a civil fine.
Were you saying in lieu of the fine, the alderman could do community service? Okay.
Yeah, minor child.
Any minor child environmental provisions
could say
section.
subject to a fine of up to $100.
A civil fine up
Yeah.
to $100.
Yes.
Do we want to say that the $100 is the minimum?
I think it's just.
Well,
be
our
better.
signs all say $100 that we have posted, so
Okay.
that's our
No,
violation.
no,
Anyone here for public comment? Oh,
I'm
sorry, go ahead. You're on.
Under the exceptions paragraph, what this said before was that no person shall be convicted of this violation if it's determined that the explanation so given was true and disclosed a lawful purpose. And now you want to change that. The change seems more restrictive to me. No citation shall be issued under this section if the individual provides a truthful explanation demonstrating that the minor's actions fall within one of the following lawful exceptions. So these seem to be a list of exceptions, and if your explanation doesn't fall within one of those, then you get a citation.
Well, that's because the exceptions were, if you have a juvenile that's out past curfew, like the A, if they're where the minor parent or guardian, I mean, there's exceptions to violating.
What if I'm out after midnight with my 15-year-old grandson getting a pizza?
That's an
That's
exception
That's
A.
what it
Well,
says, A.
but I'm not his guardian, I'm not his parent or his
On
guardian.
an errand at the direction of the minors.
Yeah.
Well, his parents are home in Bethesda.
Didn't they say stay with grandpa and be good?
You know, I'm just trying to clarify, you know, what's a
We're not
lawful-
going to give a citation to
Okay.
somebody who's with an adult without an outing. That's why all those exceptions are there. This is for when you have all the kids out, they're violating curfew and doing other things, I might add, and it's just to give them a citation versus arresting them.
Okay.
Most parents would prefer you give their child a ticket than give them a criminal arrest and have to go through family and criminal court for something as minor as a curfew violation.
I'm done.
Commissioner Bauer, anything before I put it out to public comment?
C is taken out because we're not stopping cars driving through town just to see if they're old enough.
No, we're not, we don't do that.
I think this is a good ordinance.
And is there reasons, might as well ask why H is being removed?
Because it's assuming everything, as I understand.
Thank you, Chief.
That was actually removed based on, our criminal attorney who reviewed this, that we haven't
This doesn't
reduced
apply
our
anyway.
stuff. He says that's not needed.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, his argument was First Amendment rights don't have to be enumerated, they are First
They're
Amendment
rights.
They're already there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you sure? Yeah, if anybody would like to have a public comment on this, Kate?
David, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm David Moskowitz, and I'm the parent. We live here full time, and I'm here to raise serious concerns about the proposed changes to this ordinance. which removed key constitutional safeguards for minors. Labeling violations as civil doesn't exempt the town from scrutiny. Minors still have full constitutional right. The draft also lacks any clear appeal process for minors and their parents. So the first is the removal of First Amendment protections, and it eliminates exemptions for rights protected by the Constitution, including the free exercise of a religion, which Dewey Ordinance always had. Neighboring towns all have that same ordinance. Dewey would be the outlier. Under the current draft, a minor returning home from a private religious event or dinner could be cited for violating the curfew, burdening their rights. And there's legal precedent in Hodgins versus Peterson, Quibb versus Strauss. But the issue is the police officer is going to look at the exemptions. He's not going to know, oh, I can look at the U.S. Constitution too. You need to put that in there. The second is the loss of interstate and intrastate travel exemptions. The draft removes prior exemptions for travel, which again, all the other neighboring communities have. This includes both intrastate and local movement. For example, this week there's a Delaware State Fair. If a 17-year-old goes to the fair, or as they're driving from Cherry Hill, New Jersey to Dewey Beach, they park across the street and they walk a block or two to the house, they technically could be fined. And I understand the police chief will say, hey, this is a tool I have. Well, you need to apply the law fairly. Removing these protections risks criminalizing ordinary travel and makes Dewey Beach an outlier again among all the other jurisdictions. 3, undermine parental and Fifth Amendment rights. The revised ordinance removes the requirement for law enforcement to notify parents before detaining or citing a minor. This undermines the parents' fundamental liberty interests under the 14th Amendment. And because you're requiring a minor to give a truthful explanation without a parent or lawyer present. And if they lie, this system goes criminal. So the ordinance needs to have unstructured provision for parental presence during questioning. The minor's right to remain silent and access to legal counsel. Year-round enforcement and risk of arbitrary stops. Although the intent may be seasonal enforcement, the ordinance applies year-round, such as to my daughter, and lacks objective criteria for stops. This opens the door to arbitrary enforcement based on appearance, including the risk of profiling. Kids growing up in Dewey Beach should not be unfairly targeted based on how young they look. And 5, the ordinance provides no clear path for an impartial hearing. As written, police act as enforcer in final decision-making, raising serious due process concerns. It also relies on politically appointed officials like the town alderman, who's not a lawyer. She was hired because she got along with everyone. Quote, at the meeting she was hired. This creates pressure to prioritize ticketing over fairness without adequate checks and balances. So just to summarize, if the goal is to reclassify curfew violations from criminal to civil, do that, but do not remove the constitutional protection. I'm asking the town to reinstate both First Amendment and interstate travel exemptions and add intrastate, restore parental notification and Fifth Amendment safeguards, and clearly define a fair process for judicial review and appeals handled by impartial authority. Upholding the Constitution is a duty every commissioner has sworn to. Thank you for your attention. But if you don't do this, this is going to end up in court. So I ask you to put those safeguards in. Thank you.
Commissioner Persinger.
I did have a couple of other issues. This was not addressed in the draft ordinance, but there is paragraph C of the existing code, which talks about unlawful conduct of parents. There are 2 references in this paragraph, in paragraph 1, I think, and also 2, reference to a minor having been issued a summons. I think that should just be changed to citation. Summons is something quite different. But it does also require that whenever, if we change this, whenever a citation has been issued to a minor for a curfew violation, notice shall be given to the parent of the minor. That says to me that, and that text, such notice shall be given either by personal delivery thereof to the parent or by deposit of such notice in the United States mail in an envelope with postage prepaid, etc. And then there's other requirements there. So does that need to be changed, or does that create some additional responsibilities for the police department in terms of curfew violations, or even if you change this to a civil citation?
Well, as I said, you're going to notify the parents when you write the citation, or if you can't get hold of them, then you'll still attempt it. But it's not a criminal offense, so you're not required to take them into custody and have. Currently, our current thing is it's a criminal, take them to the station, and you have to find a parent, a guardian, or somebody responsible that you can release this child to that has responded to the station and take them. And so we won't need to do that anymore because it's not a criminal offense, it's a civil citation.
No, I'm saying, but the existing code does have language in here that has specific requirements for notifying parents. So unless we take that out, I think you're still stuck with that.
Where is it exactly?
Which section are you, I guess
This
I'm
is,
looking at
I'm sorry,
mine.
this was not in the draft ordinance, this is
Oh.
in the existing
The
code.
existing
What
code.
chapter of the code are you reading?
This is,
85.
it's chapter, 85, 1, 1321A, and then it's paragraph C, unlawful conduct of parents, and notice, unlawful conduct of parents.
So you suggesting that we make, if we do pass this, that we ask for those things to be cleared up that have not been put forth in the ordinance draft?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
That would have to come in.
So that there's consistency.
Right.
No conflict. Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
I was just gonna look at it, but I'm okay.
Yeah, it's, I can't pull it up for whatever reason, Ecode 360 is kind of a mess on my screen.
Okay.
I don't know quite, do you have a specific motion about what you want to do to the existing?
Well,
code?
it's really, my question was to the chief. I mean, that requirement about notification and the specifics of that notification process will still be in the code unless we change it.
Yeah, we do need to change it, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't,
Okay,
was looking for it on the one that I have here in front of me.
so I think your adjustment to the motion is that those changes get made and then we have to
Correct.
revisit that? Do they have to come back for a vote?
On a revision to the, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right,
Okay,
So
so
we
we'll
can
just
change
handle
this
that
now,
in a
but change that
subsequent
later?
yeah,
Okay, so we'll handle that notification change in a subsequent meeting.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Motion?
You don't have to mail them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Barra,
No comments at this point.
Commissioner Persinger,
No comments.
Commissioner Givens,
I have said all I wish to say. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Jazinski.
No comments.
Mayor Stevens has no comments. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.